Coming up on Network Africa. ECOWAS expresses willingness to lift Mali sanctions as envoy Goodluck Jonathan arrives in the country. Nurses and midwives in Ghana call off their indefinite strike. Plus, Mozambique formally asked the European Union for help to battle Islamist militants in its northern province. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Teniola Shoboale. It seems West African leaders are willing to lift sanctions imposed on Mali following last month's coup. That's according to ECOWAS envoy and former Nigerian president Goodluck Jonathan, who says that the military officers who overthrew President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta are acceding to international calls for a transition to civilian rule. His comments suggest that ECOWAS could accept the appointment of a former defense minister, Ba Ndol, as interim president, with the coup leader, Colonel Assimi Goïta, as vice president. Imports to landlocked Mali have slumped since the imposition of a trade embargo. The government of Côte d'Ivoire has announced plans to release the associates of opposition leader Guillaume Soro. Government spokesperson Sidi Touré did not state the number of people to be freed, but he says some may still face persecution. Those in detention include Mr. Soro's relatives and politicians. The opposition leader was accused of plotting a coup against President Alassane Ouattara. He is currently in exile in France. The release of his allies is seen as an attempt to calm rising tensions in the country ahead of next month's elections. President Ouattara's bid for a third term has led to mass protests in the country. Now, Gambia's opposition leader has blamed the government for the rejection of a draft constitution that would have limited presidential terms. Parliament rejected the draft constitution on Tuesday, a clause that prevented President Adama Barrow from resetting the clock to make him eligible for 2 more terms, appears to have been the biggest sticking point. The United Democratic Party leader, Osanu Daboe, says the rejection of the draft is not a good sign for democracy. The next general elections are scheduled for next year. And in Kenya, at least 15 top government officials and business people are to be recommended for persecution in connection with the alleged theft of tens of millions of dollars meant for purchase of COVID-19 medical supplies. Investigators have uncovered how government tenders were handed out to politically connected individuals and businesses in breach of procurement regulations. A second phase of investigations will target companies that illegally benefited from the tenders. Well, let's get more on this story from Kenyan journalist Abby Agina. Thank you so much for joining us on Network Africa, Abby. What more can you tell us about the Kenyan officials and business people recommended for persecution over embezzling COVID-19 funds?
Well, this is a matter that continues to elicit a lot of public outcry, even as details continue to emerge over the 63 billion shillings scandal that did rock the Kenya Medical Supplies Agency. The investigating agencies are still undertaking investigations, and the over 15 persons that have been allegedly accused of having taken part in this scandal are still being investigated. It is unclear if any of them will be arrested as of yet. We are still monitoring developments, but so far no arrests have been made. It has only been, most of the businessmen have been summoned to present more evidence to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. So it's an unfolding event, and we continue to keep an eye on it.
You know, amid reports that Kenyan hospitals are struggling under the weight of COVID-19 cases, what is the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority saying about this probe?
Well, the Kenya Medical Supplies Agency, KEMSA, has actually literally been under fire from the parliament. This is the National Assembly. The board chairperson has been summoned by the Parliamentary Committee on Health, and they were interrogated. And it emerged that a lot of gaps did exist in how procurement was conducted under these particular circumstances. And KEMSA, on its part, has maintained that they did abide by the procurement laws that govern the procurement processes in the country. And this is something that has pushed the investigating agencies to demand a forensic audit just to capture exactly what could have transpired, because this scandal has been a complex one, considering that it entails a lot of organizations that had been allegedly named in this scandal. But for KEMSA's, on its part, it has so far taken action on the chief executive officer, who was sent on the chief executive was actually suspended by the board of directors. And it is also another development where a lot of pressure is also being mounted by the parliamentary committee to ensure that the board of directors is also disbanded, so that there is free room to investigate.
Well, we understand that the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, that's the EACC, will carry out a second phase of investigations into this matter. What are we expecting from that phase?
Well, the EACC has stood its ground, saying that appealing to Kenyans, to East Africans, that they need more time. Like I did put it, the complexity of this case is of unknown proportions, and the EACC has indicated that they will leave no stone unturned, and they will be pursuing all the alleged persons that are being categorized as persons of interest in this scandal. So far, we do know that EACC has not yet submitted further details to the Director of Public Prosecutions for further prosecution of all those that have been allegedly named in this scandal. But EACC's director in charge of the agency, that is Twalib Mubarak, he maintains that they have also indicated that they will ensure that all the officers handling this case are given the necessary support, and there is no opportunity for them to be intimidated, nor opportunity for them to be bribed in any manner. So it's a very dicey situation, and definitely eyes are on Twalib, who is the man in the hot seat.
You know, all hands seem to be on deck here, but if those recommended for persecution are found guilty by the law court, what punishment are they likely to face?
Well, according to the law of the land, it is very clear that what could have transpired under the KEMSA procurement scandal is of gigantic proportions. We are talking about 63 billion Kenyan shillings. And the punishment, of course, will be very severe as per the Economic Crimes Act, which stipulates that majority of those that are actually found culpable will have to, first off, course, have assets frozen. That is the first measure. We also do know that they also face jail time. It will be later pronounced by the courts in terms of what number of years the accused might face. And of course, in terms of the fines, it will be also pronounced by the courts. I would not want to give a figure right now because this is still an active case, and the will definitely see a number of new pronouncements coming out of the courts, especially now that the court is looking towards ensuring that there's fairness and justice is served to Kenyans.
Of course, there'll be a lot to keep our eyes on there. Thank you once again for joining us on Network Africa. Still in Kenya, President Uhuru Kenyatta says global geopolitics and competition between global powers have complicated and severely undermined the global response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking to the UN General Assembly via video message, President Kenyatta noted that the COVID-19 pandemic and other contemporary challenges have redefined the imperative for multilateral action. His comments were pre-recorded and aired in the General Assembly Hall, as previously agreed by the General Assembly in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. Despite the inability to gather world leaders in New York as customary, this year's general debate will witness the largest ever participation of heads of state and government in UN history.
Global geopolitics and competition between global powers have complicated and severely undermined the global response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Indeed, they have caused severe anxiety and undermined coordinated responses to an economic and social character that would have left us in a stronger position as a global collective. Kenya believes strongly that if we remain anchored in multilateralism and with unity of purpose, if we are much more agile in embracing change and positive transformations, if we remain rooted in a rule-based international system and act innovatively and selflessly, we can transcend our challenges and secure lasting peace and prosperity for all.
And in West Africa, nurses and midwives in Ghana have resumed work after calling off their indefinite strike. The National Labour Commission secured a court order to enforce an earlier court injunction meant to end the strike and compel the healthcare workers to continue negotiations with the government. The nurses and midwives are demanding better terms of service, including rent and transport allowances. The government has promised to conclude the negotiations within a month. The strike left many patients stranded in medical facilities across the country, with reports of deaths in some health facilities. Let's get more on this story from Joy News TV correspondent Daniel Dadzie. Thanks for joining us on the program, Daniel.
Hi.
How are Ghanaians reacting to the news that nurses and midwives have called off their indefinite strike?
I'm sure it is, as you would imagine, Ghanaians are very happy that the strike has been called off. Unfortunately, because the news has been slow in reaching some communities, we took reports from some hospitals, especially in the Volta region, which is Ghana's easternmost region, that they are at work, but the patients are not. A number of these patients reported to the hospital on Monday and on Tuesday, and unfortunately, because the nurses were not there, and typically these are people who had to travel long distances through rural communities, through poor road infrastructure, and so they
I do apologise for the connection there. When Network Africa returns in just a moment. South Africa celebrates Heritage Day, a day set aside to showcase culture and the diversity of beliefs and traditions. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. In East Africa, Mozambique has formally asked the European Union for assistance in its battle with Islamist militants in the northern province of Cabo Delgado. The government has requested support in logistics and specialized training for its soldiers. The southern African nation has been fighting the insurgents for 3 years with little success. At least 1,500 people have been killed and an estimated 250,000 people have fled their homes. The government has also lost control of 3 coastal districts. South Africans have been urged to embrace the country's complex cultural makeup on Heritage Day, which was officially recognized as a public holiday in 1995. While announcing the country's move to level 1 lockdown following 6 months of the coronavirus pandemic, President Cyril Ramaphosa called on all South Africans to celebrate Heritage Day with a musical phenomenon, the Jerusalem Dance Challenge. Meanwhile, South Africans have been urged to celebrate responsibly, with Police Minister Becky Cele banning the off-site sale of alcohol and reminding the country of a looming second wave of COVID-19 infections. South Africans taking part in the Jerusalem Challenge there. Well, let's get more on this story from our South Africa Bureau Chief, Betty Dibia. Betty, happy Heritage Day to you.
Sawubona, Tenny. That means hello.
Hello to you too. Well, you know, it's a bit of an unusual Heritage Day this year, taking the COVID-19 pandemic in mind. What's the mood like in South Africa?
Of course, the mood has been tempered by COVID-19, but people are still celebrating in their own way, in their own little communities. People are all dressed at the shopping malls. They're dressed in their traditional wear, quite colorful in some cases. And you know, Heritage Day, some people decided to be calling it Bride Day. So you usually have the brides or barbecue parties where they have at the parks or private residences. So people are still doing that, but you know, a bit tempered by COVID-19, but they're still celebrating. And the Jerusalem Dance Challenge is keeping the tempo up.
Yeah, I was going to ask, have you taken part in the challenge yourself, Betty?
Well, you don't want to try my two left feet, which only comes second to the Finance Minister, Tito Mboweni. But hey, we do our best. We're trying.
Okay, I would really like to see that. But tell us a bit more about the Heritage Day. What's it all about, and what else is planned for today?
I know that part of the theme, because September is Heritage Month in the country, and this year they decided to honor not just those who have died, who have done in their own little corners, preserving the culture and diversity of the country. They're honoring the living treasures. That's how they refer to them. This year is 3 women, a mural artist of the Ndebele tribe, Dr. Esther Mahlangu, of global acclaim. You can Google her. And you have Madosini Mpahleni, who is a traditional musician she's a Xhosa woman, plays local music with a traditional instrument, which is fast fading, a bow and string, a bowstring instrument where you play with your mouth and a stick. And then you have a woman of the San ethnic group or grouping, her name is Katrina Iso. She's 87, preserving a language that is fast fading away. So the Heritage Day is basically celebrating the culture and diversity of the Rainbow Nation. And as you said, it was first celebrated in 1995 under former President Nelson Mandela, in just trying to tell people, let's come together to raise what we have, what we share, the country that we have, and all the colors in it, as well as the flora, the fauna, the everything that makes up the country, South Africa.
You know, the spirit of togetherness is really important, especially amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Wishing you a Heritage Day again, Betty. I do hope you enjoy the rest of the day, and I am looking forward to your challenge.
I take up that challenge. I would like to see you too. Thank you so much, Jenny.
I'll try.
All right.
Moving on now, a Nigerian art collector, Yemisi Shilon, says he is determined to ensure that works created in Nigeria receive domestic acclaim at a time when they are increasingly celebrated overseas. After amassing a personal collection of 7,000 artworks over the last 44 years, the 68-year-old lawyer last year donated 1,000 pieces to a museum in Lagos. Delays caused by the coronavirus pandemic means the donated works reopened to the public in September against the backdrop of the Black Lives Matter movement that has sparked a global debate about the role of colonialism in ownership of African art.
I started collecting out of interest. and it grew to become a passion, and then it grew to become an obsession, and then it has grown to become a glorious obsession. Glorious in the sense that it has become something that has given me life, given me happiness. Let us promote the richness and the beauty of our culture. And I use my art collection as a means of propagating our past, our present, and the ability to look into the past and present to help people understand the future. Let us go back to do what we should do, which we are not doing, with respect to our ethnographic and archaeological objects. And let them see that, yes, we really have genuine interest in our fight to have those works returned.
And that's the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Teniola Shubowale. Bye for now.